perspective is all about understanding humanity, how humans work, the behavior of humans, what we do, philosophy, and a little bit of science thrown in with that.
Charlie?
Hey, I'm Charlie, and I am the Legacy Wealth Budget Doctor, and I'm all about educating people about how to have powerful budgets that will enable you to benefit from the things you're doing today and pay dividends in the future. So let's get this money in order because being broke is not dope.
And I'm Charmy. I am a counselor, social worker who likes anything pop culture related to books, movies, television, lover of hip hop, and finding and taking the history of that information and bringing it to the current, and also seeing how that helps us express our emotions. Okay, today's topic, we're going to be discussing my blog this morning, and I have to bring it up. Hold on.
You forgot.
So today, I know I wanted to talk about. I forgot what I named.
You forgot what she wrote about.
I know what I wrote about. I forgot the name. So my blog that I posted this week was "Are You Brave Enough to Be the Light?" And of course, we're discussing the Inauguration Day and the events leading up to inauguration, and then we can have some conversation about what's happened since.
Right. So, of course, before Inauguration Day, it was crazy, right? With all the storming the Capitol stuff we talked about last time,
right?
And the anticipation of more possible crazy things happening. I think that was my biggest thing, and I knew I wasn't gonna be able to watch it because I was kind of on cringe all day. Like I just knew I was like a rocket launcher or like something crazy just gonna go barreling through the crowd. So I was just like, I was at work. I just dug into work, and I was like, whenever somebody would message me and tell me what happened, and you did. Thank you, Charmaine.
From my perspective, I was all about not letting the foolishness of the last couple of weeks or the last 4 years overshadow the fact that Inauguration Day was a history-making event. I got my pearls on. Every Black woman had their pearls on, ushering in Kamala Harris, and the fact that she is the first African-American, Southern Indian, representing that office, female representing that office, and it's just powerful. And then it also highlighted the fact that at the end of the day, the people's voice was heard. And I got my John Lewis t-shirt on, get in trouble, that good trouble, not that foolishness trouble, that good trouble, necessary trouble, because things in this country are not perfect. And sometimes you do have to stand up and take a stand, and there is a way to do that. And we're going to continue to advocate for injustice when we need to, and press this system to continue to get better. And it can't be through foolishness. And so Inauguration Day to me was about getting back to a platform of reason, a platform of trying to make this country be better, while still working within the framework of this country, so that we can all work together as a populace to be the best that we can as a people.
Yeah, I mean, and I was probably the one who sat there and from the moment she woke up was just consuming the information of the day. I was there when they had the pre-inauguration countdown on CNN and MSNBC. Both of them had I thought the countdown
8 hours of it.
Right. So I was, while I had my morning conversations with you two, I had the news on, and I didn't realize how tense I was that morning because I was waiting for something to happen, and when they announced that Trump was leaving and getting into Marine One and flying off, I was like, good, he's out of here, and like I wrote about, it was just like my day started, it was all about him not being in office. But I think the committee did an excellent job of making the day about the new administration and the changes that we're going to hopefully receive in the next 4 years, and not be consumed about what our country has been about for the last 4 years.
Amen.
And so, yeah, so let's talk about, did anybody catch Trump's speech when he left?
Yeah, I watched it.
I looked at a couple
and
seconds.
I have no comment.
What'd you say, Charlize?
I said I watched it and I have no comment because I'm moving toward the future. I'm not even. I don't forgot Trump already. Bye. Bye, Felicia.
The one thing I do want to touch on, I think me and Charmaine during the week we had a conversation about this, is about the fact that the media really benefited from Trump and they really loved the concept of him. Even if it wasn't that they liked his policies, it was this exciting, toxic relationship that the country had got into where it was always something crazy happening, and it was Twitter tweets, and it was this, and he said this, and he did that.
I need my politics. Make politics boring again.
And that's what we talk about. Like, how people are going to be bored. Are they going to miss that crazy life?
Politics is not for your entertainment. That politics ain't
right.
I need.
And that's what right. But see, what happened with Trump is he brought a whole new viewer to platforms like Fox, MSNBC, and CNN. So, people who normally do not consume round-the-clock media like that was coming in droves because everybody wanted to know what his next tweet was about. How do the pundits feel about his tweet? Let's dissect his tweet. Was it misspelled words? And
because one of the things you got to think about, one of the things I kind of talk about sometimes is the fact that people love to hate other people, and so Trump was good for the people who liked him, but he was even better for the people who hated him because they would consume so much of him that it would make it even bigger. Oh, we got to tell people, we got to read it, we got to do it. People would be writing. Dudes who don't even like writing, didn't never turn the paper in high school, will write a 5-page paragraph, a 5-page post on social media talking about something Trump said. Like, so as much as we try to act like, oh, we hate Trump, I don't like him. People loved hating him.
Right.
Yes, but you can't. We will never progress as a country if we're going to build on a platform of hate and ignorance. And that's what the Trump presidency was about, is stirring people's emotions in a very insightful and dangerous way, and then not taking ownership for anything. Oh, I ain't tell them, I ain't do that. I'm ready to move forward, and I think it's a breath of fresh air to just move from that. I know there's a lot of and I think the title of your blog is perfect. Like, not only from administrative perception about being a light, but we all have the responsibility to embrace something different than hate and ignorance, and to be a light and help this country move forward.
Exactly. The poem was the thing that pulled me.
We're going to get to the poem. Not yet, because we're going to talk about
that was the highlight, though. We ready.
Right, that was the highlight, because that's what changed my day. But
that's what made me get into
entering. Was the fashion
but that's
of the day. Political, it might seem a little frivolous. I did.
I'm gonna tell you, one of the first messages I got was, "Did you see Michelle?"
But
first message you got from who, Charmaine?
No, it was like my other friends, like, "Girl, did you see Michelle? She was whipping and her hair was banging."
Now, what I will say,
like, don't we look good?
I'm not a fashion person, so I didn't really pay attention to the fashion, but you felt the love, the pictures that was going around about the exchange between Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris. Like, girl, you done did this. Girl, you got this, and I got you, and I'm backing you up. I thought that was a beautiful exclamation point on the whole day about all the people there.
Everybody was very professional.
They understood the gravity of the moment.
Right.
They did not take it lightly. In that exchange between two Black women, that you just saw the love and the admiration and the respect on both sides. I absolutely loved it. That was my,
and the encouragement. It was right. And so out of that came a meme, and I'll throw up the meme when I do my edits of Michelle and Kamala like having their moment. And there was a meme that pretty much said that's how every woman should celebrate each other, how we should celebrate each other. And it was excellent. It was like Black excellence at the most high. And I brought the fashion in because I thought that was, everyone showed up that day. Even Bernie Sanders.
Right, even Bernie
with his mittens.
Bernie everywhere right now. How Bernie popping up everywhere.
Bernie is everywhere.
And so, that's one of the things. That's one of the things that I was saying, like when we were talking earlier, Charmy, it's like everything connects with people and emotional. A lot of things connect with people emotionally that we don't think about. Like we might think that fashion can sometimes be a trivial thing, but the look of an event makes you feel like it's important. The style and the grace that people carry with them, that Michelle carried with that conversation with Kamala, like that, the pageantry of it, some people might say is antiquated and it's outdone, but it just shows that it touches something in our core. People like to talk about, oh, it's just a symbol. Symbols are important. Symbols are
important. The history of it, and it carries on. And I mean, to kind of get off topic, me and Charlize have been having a lot of conversations last year about legacy and traditions and something that can carry past us being here, and so you don't realize that pageantry of an inauguration, that it's all by design, but it's something comforting knowing that that there's going to be a poet, there's going to be someone giving a benediction, the finding out the Bible that the president and vice president are swearing on, and the significance of that. All of that is very important, and it adds to a certain level of pride that I have lost over the last few years. And it felt good. It felt good to watch the inauguration. And I'm going to say about Bernie Sanders, he was the every man's man in that moment. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone who has a male in their family, maybe not the mittens, but he was relatable. He didn't come, he showed up as Bernie. And someone pointed out, I read something earlier this morning that said that he pretty much gave up his run for presidency. So America can have that moment, because he was doing strong in the polls, and he had a good showing, but whoever the powers that be had the conversation with Kamala and Bernie and everyone who decided to finally bow out of the race to let Biden have his run.
Because
it was like
they were able
it's
to
not about you. It's about,
and understand that it's not about you individually. We got to figure out what's best for this country, because we were in this country could not have survived another Trump presidency, and it was so necessary for the Democrats who were running to understand that what's going on is bigger than you. And they were all able to come together and garner around a candidate that they felt like this is what we need to move this party forward. Bernie Sanders had a lot of followers, but Bernie Sanders was too far on the other side to be a unifying force in this country. And that's just a fact. And so we need, both parties have gone too far left and too far to the right. What we needed right now
we needed somebody to bring it together
in the center that knows how to bring people together and get the job done. And still, even with Biden, he got his work cut out for him.
Because, like, you know
Right.
what the thing is, most Americans, there are going to be some people to the left and there are going to be some people to the right. But the thing is, most of us are somewhere in between those things. And like, while I tend to lean a little bit left, I'm pretty conservative on a lot of things. And so
Right.
I need somebody to address some of those issues that are in between, and I can see where there can be compromise and things made. So we do need leaders that are able to do that. And I'm just watching to see, because there's a lot of people who are now like, oh yeah, I was so excited to get him in the office, but what he gonna really do and all this other stuff.
Right.
So everybody's watching, critiquing hard out the gate, like they are on it.
Right.
They're gonna be
Right. And I even saw a post where somebody was saying, "Oh, y'all are acting like Biden is our savior," and I was like, "No, what we're acting like, Black people showed up for this election. They showed up with our voice. We showed up with our voices. We have created a political currency that we haven't had probably since civil rights. We really showed we flipped Georgia. Come on now.
But you know, the thing is,
we
the thing,
flipped Georgia.
I think the currency came from the dynamics of will we vote for him or will we vote for Trump? Because there were a lot of people coming out, like Cube and other people, saying the Republicans are going to benefit us more. And it was little things here and there. And then the fact that some people thought that the Democrats were taking our votes for granted all these years. Like, oh, you're going to vote for us and you're not Black. You know what I'm saying? So it was more of a like, okay, we know we're doing this. What are we getting for it? And so now we are, I do know on one level, Black folks is watching.
Right. And we were unapologetic with saying that we want something for our voice. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, I didn't really have a problem with Q saying that he met with both parties or he was willing to meet with Trump's people. I didn't have a problem with that. Only reason why, okay, I'm lying. I did have a little of a problem because
it was Trump.
It was too much on the line with this one. And I could not see our country surviving 4 more years. So it was like, okay, yes, this is a conversation we need to have, but come on. I don't care what Trump.
At the end of the day, once you get to a certain economic bracket, you realize that the Republican policies are better for you financially. That's a fact.
Right.
Because I'm here and I understand it. And the tax cuts under Trump benefited me greatly. A lot of people realize that. But at the end of the day, you got to do a cost benefit analysis. And tax cuts ain't worth the risk that this country will take with another 4 years of Trump.
Right.
For me, I believe that while I think it would have been terrible for another 4 years under Trump, but I do believe that we would have survived it. I don't think that it was going to be the end of the United States. It would have been a tough road.
It would be the end of the United States, but to the damage that was done on a foreign policy scale, the damage that was done from an internal, like, under no other president were extremist groups so emboldened to operate the way that they were operating. The damage that was done is just astronomical. The policy, and
it was based on his words.
So, and not only that, like the ripple effect, leadership sets the tone. There was a lot of people that was like emboldened to say and do things that you never said and heard before. And, and then
you saw at the Capitol, they were so emboldened they didn't think they needed to hide their face.
They didn't need to hide their face.
They didn't need to hide their face. They was posted on their social media.
In the federal government, all diversity training was you couldn't do diversity training. You couldn't talk about equal opportunity. You couldn't because they said that was prejudicial against white people to talk about diversity training and sensitizing people to issues. Like there was a lot of things that was done and you just scratching your head and you like, what? And then you saw a tolerance, even though you might have seen some things that got to the news. And a lot of times, only when things get to the news was things actually done to it. But you saw a tolerance of a lot of foolishness that was like,
exactly. Let me tell you, I'm a field social worker, and I'm out in the field, and I'm in Georgia, and I had to build a armor of confidence and strength every time I left my home. There was a fear when, especially after the 6th, January 6th, because you find out there's officers out. We know officers have been part of this movement. We know that, but seeing it and having it validated and heard, it was like, so now I'm driving. So if I get pulled over because I go 2 or 3 miles per hour over the speed limit, I don't know what kind of officer I'm going to get. I don't know whose home I'm going into. I live in a very diverse area. So I'm going into rural areas. I'm going into white neighborhoods, affluent white neighborhoods, to the poorest of Black neighborhoods that's poor with Black and Mexicans. And so it's like, once I start driving and I'm seeing, because I'm still new to the area, so I don't know if I'm going to Beaufort sometimes what that exactly means, or if I'm going to Loganville, what part of Loganville am I going to? And as soon as I start seeing it get ruler, my anxiety is going up, and you start seeing the Trump signs. And I'm saying, never before, and Charlize will contest to this, I'm a political junkie. I majored in political science. And I've never seen flags. I went past a house, this beautiful, had to be at the minimum $350,000 house. Their whole front of their house was covered with a Trump flag on display. And it just, every time I started seeing these Trump signs and Trump flags, I knew that I was in an area where I'm not welcomed. Just because I'm Black. They don't know I'm not a Trump supporter. I made sure, like, I had to drive, I can't have any badging on my car that indicates where I stood politically, because I was in an area where someone might confront me on the highway just because I have certain flagging on my car. And so that's what those 4 years did. And never before have I ever felt.
At the end of the day, it's always been there. That you had a certain
right
people. Their biggest fear is to
they
become
weren't
the minority. The biggest fear of the majority population right now is to become a minority. And Trump knew that. He played on those fears, and you see it replicated in even in the like. I was just in a class last week, and somebody made a comment about, because we had a whole segment on diversity, and somebody made a comment about, well, I'm all for diversity, but I don't think that we should achieve diversity by putting all these quotas in place to get African Americans in certain positions. I'm like, so this is a senior officer in the military getting ready to go into command. And I'm like, what quotas are you referring to? Because the military does not have quotas on the board for African Americans. The only thing that is on the board that they ensured is on the board is that there has to be, that sits the board, one minority officer, whether they're female or African American or Hispanic. Of the 12 members of an officer board, one of them has to be from a minority group. But other than that, there's no quota on the outcome of the board. But for some reason, you have this senior officer that believed that. And I'm like, so you mean to tell me what you really believe is that the only way that I'm sitting here is because I had to be a part of a quota? Because other than that, there's no way that this Black girl can be.
Let's break it down, though. Let's break it down. My sister graduated from a top university in not 4 years or 5 years, in 3 years with a biochem degree. She was top of her class. She was celebrated out of high school for having, at that point, the most scholarship offers in Missouri history. Okay. She's a doctorate. She has her doctorate, and she has worked hard from Harvard, and she worked hard as most of her career as a single parent. Yes, she has the support of her mother, who is a strong backbone, who allowed her to achieve her career, but she still did it. So Charlize is a direct reflection of this notion. Black people have to be twice as smart, work twice as hard to get half as far. And so if Charlize or anyone who looks like her shows up, it's trust me and believe she qualified. Right.
To just be there. I have yet to see where 9 times out of 10, if there is a minority in the room and there's a minority and they are the minority, their credentials are
amazing.
Right.
Look, let's compare Barack Obama to a Trump.
Let's not, because there's no comparison. They shouldn't.
Exactly. There's no comparison. In the 8 years he's been
in office, no
scandal.
But you know what they try to do? All of a sudden, if you're Black with really a lot of credentials, now those credentials don't matter.
Right.
Now that's just a piece of paper. That's degrees and stuff,
Right.
Because that's what Trump tried to say. Like, oh, I don't have to have all of that. That's just paper. I'm not a career.
He doesn't have to have all of that. That's called white privilege.
Right.
We can't get to the table without all of that. You can, and that's called white privilege.
Right. So we're not going to let Trump, consume the day. Right. So my moment in inauguration was when Kamala Harris was sworn in. I was moved to tears. It was like she stood there with an authority. She deserved to be in that position. She has the credentials, she has the experience, and I believe that she will make an amazing vice president. And I kept saying, for the first time, I was okay with people just saying she was the first female vice president. The fact that she's Black, that's even better. But I don't want to hear the first Asian American, Asian Black female. I think the fact that she's a woman, I'm good.
She's a phenomenal woman.
Right, she's a phenomenal woman.
With credentials. And normally a lot of focus isn't on the vice presidency, but the way that this government is set up right now with the 50-50 representation in the Senate, her role in the vice presidency is
big.
Front and center. Big. And I love it. And I'm here to witness
right.
it all.
Right. I'm here for it.
It's gonna be some interesting.
And she got sworn in on Thurgood Marshall's, was it Thurman Strong or who? Thurgood Marshall's Bible, correct?
Thurgood Marshall.
Right. Yeah, she got sworn in on It was
by Sonia Sotomayor.
Hello,
baby.
Hello. I was like there, and Wiles was like, "Are you tearing up?" And I was like, "Yes, I am. I am moved to tears because we're being represented. Just like when Obama got sworn in and I had my not yet 1-year-old child on my lap, he will never know a life where
there wasn't a Black
he can't aspire to be a president. My son was born in 2007. Obama was sworn in what, 2008 or 2009?
2009. The election was November
2008. Right. So he was one when he was sworn in. But I'm like, he'll never know that life. With now that Kamala Harris is in, I just feel like we are even further telling our children that if you do the work, if you make the sacrifices, if you delay gratification, good things can happen to you. And I was in that moment. And
representation matters. And I don't think people understand it enough. And if you're part of the majority population, you don't even think about it because you represent across the board. And I tell you what, and that's one of the reasons I'm still in the military, because I remember when I was a lieutenant commander, I was stationed out at NAVCENT, and a young lady came up to me. She was a CT, and she came up to me, but at first she wasn't saying anything. I said, "Can I help you?" She was like, "Well, I was thinking about putting in an officer package, but I had delayed it for so long because I had never seen a Black female intelligence officer or a cryptologic officer. I just didn't really think that I would fit in and that was the place for me. And she was like, when I saw you walking down the hall, I had to come up to you and speak to you. And I wanted to see if you would help me with my officer package. Absolutely, baby. Absolutely.
You know, and that's true because even for me, I had situations where like when I was in grad school, when I got to my grad school, I was the only American Black person. There were two others and I tried to connect with them, but they made it really painfully aware that they were not American and they were not Black. Like, you know what I mean? They were from one was from the Dominican and one was African, and it was just honestly, so it was just me. And it really felt like it was just me on that whole campus and my whole building, the 14 floors of research. I was in the physiology department. It was, so I felt really like, do I belong here every single day? And I think Michelle Obama talked about it before. It was called that imposter syndrome, where like you feel like at any minute they're gonna realize that you are not supposed to be there, that you don't belong there. And that was a hard thing to deal with. It was really
I tell people all the time, because people will ask me, well, how do you deal with being the minority in the room? I said, look, let me tell you something. Couldn't nobody else sitting at this table have gone through what I've gone through, had to overcome the obstacles that I overcome, achieve the level of success that I achieved as far as the credentials built, and sit at this table? I know that. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me I don't deserve to sit at the table, because I'm looking around saying, why are you at the table? Not why I'm at the table. I know how I got here. Shit's hard fought and hard won. You can't question my credentials. You can't make me feel bad at sitting at this table. And I don't have no need to be validated by you.
And so Charlize is unique, but she's always been that way. It doesn't matter. Charlize is always.
I agree.
But let me say one other thing before we get to the next part is the fact that a lot of people are how we represented ourselves and how we celebrated Kamala Harris on social media. The pearls and the chucks and even AKAs had a moment, and Blacks, historically Black colleges were having a moment. People were joking that Howard University's tuition is going up. But it's staying because I think is important. I think that she represents so many things. The fact that anybody ever had the nerve to question her ethnicity is such a fraud. She's in a Black sorority. She went to a historically Black college. She does not run away from who she is. And I think that she is giving us permission, especially as women, to show up fully in our full self. Charlize had that already. Charlize is always showing up in her full self, but a lot of us had to not do that. And I think being in Georgia and being in a predominantly Black woman leadership office, I got to see that for the first time. But we get to show up fully and be ourselves, and there's nothing apologetic about ourselves.
The question I have about showing up fully and being yourself, I still don't know that I necessarily show up fully and am my full self. Like, I show up mostly and I am mostly myself, but I still feel like in a professional environment or like even in social gatherings with coworkers or things like that, I'm still not going to be my full self.
Well, I think it's a difference. I mean, everybody, I don't think people behave the same way in the workplace as they do at home. There's a certain level of comfort at home there's a separation between the workplace and home. At work, I have to be a leader and a professional, and all eyes are on you. Whether it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I'm a female in a minority per se.
Right.
I'm not gonna act the same way I do with my friends at home that I do at work.
Right.
It's just not appropriate. When I go out to what I'm not gonna do is, but I'm still gonna be authentic in that space. Like, I'm here for a reason. I'm not gonna ever be able to be better at being something I'm not. Just not. I am who I am for a reason. That doesn't mean that I don't operate with a level of self-awareness. If there's areas of improvement that I need to do, I'm going to focus on that. Right. But the only thing I can do is be myself and bring to the space, whatever space that I am is myself, my true authentic self with all my talents and abilities, because they were given it to me for a reason. And I know I have value to add to that space. So I'm not going to try to be you. I'm not going to try to act like I like something I don't like. I'm not going to do something that I don't like to do.
Right.
I don't have no talent.
And see, I think that's good. I think we have to make sure that we teach that balance, because I think that some young people and some of my students feel like being your true authentic self means being 100% who you are in every space. And that means that, like you said, there's a professional space and then there's like a personal space where you should have some measure of difference between those two. And so
but who you are should ripple through all of those.
I agree.
Right. Who we are. And it should be like, this is one thing I talk to when I come into a professional space new, and you don't know me, but I will tell you, if you just know that I bring my integrity and to with anything that I do, you will give me the benefit of the doubt. Make no assumptions that I'm cutting corners. Make no assumptions that I am trying to get over, because I think that's the problem with a lot of times, and I've had experienced this in the workplace, where people take stereotypes of what they know of African Americans, especially with women, and they react to that. I actually had a supervisor who was my peer, who just got promoted to my supervisor, who felt uncomfortable having a disciplinary meeting with me. And I asked her, I went in not knowing. I thought this was, a typical meeting. Her supervisor was there, and I thought she was there because she's new to doing our annual reviews. Didn't expect anything else. I thought our program manager was there for her benefit. And when I found out that she wanted to write me up because my caseload, it was high, because I have a problem closing cases, because I want to hold on to everything until I feel like I can let go of this family. And so I asked her, I said, why didn't you feel comfortable having that meeting with just me? And she was like, well, I didn't know what your reaction was going to be.
Like he was going to come across the table.
Right. I said, I'm not giving you baby showers. I celebrated your promotion.
Some people might.
And Charmy ain't got, even if she wanted to come across the table, she ain't coming across the table. Like,
right. Anyone who knows me knows that I haven't had a fight since the 3rd grade. And the story is, the reason why I had that fight is because Charlize stayed after, because she was always a teacher pet. And she stayed after school, and I'm looking around like, dang, I'm really gonna have to fight this girl. Where my sister at? Like, I do not.
That's the old Charlie people. I don't fight anymore.
No, right.
Old Charlie.
That was pre-Charlie.
I've never had a fight, but I have imagined kicking a lot of ass. So that
I don't even have that visual. I can't even have that visual. I've always been someone who can use her words to de-escalate a situation.
That's true.
And but I say that to say that you just assumed I was going to snatch off my earrings, and you thought I had a bottle of Vaseline in my purse somewhere, and I was going to smear my face and ready to throw down with you. I'm like, I've never presented that to you. You've known me for 2 years. You've never seen that come out of me. But yet and still, you diminished me to a stereotype because you were uncomfortable.
We are bigger
right.
than that.
Right.
And then the flip side of that is we're all different. And so,
right.
And I say to people all the time, like, don't make a generalization based off of me or somebody else. That's kind of the danger of a lot of diversity training too. Or like when we have these celebrations, is that you begin to think that that's like this one person is the representation of all group.
Right.
We're all different. We're all unique, and that's the beauty of it. But let's talk about
let's talk about this poem.
Let's talk about this poem.
So the poem presented by Amanda Gordman, who is a 23-year-old African-American female. She looked like she was all of 12.
Right. She looks so
I thought she was younger than that.
Right.
I thought she was younger.
I did too. I actually had, I've been following her on Instagram for a while, and I came to know about her through one of the most recent Black Lives Matter protests. And she had spoke at one of those, and I was like, "Oh, who is her? Who is this young lady? Who is she?" I don't like her because her mannerism, the way she delivers it, it was just so.
The power of words is
right.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Oh my goodness! And so I had to. She is the reason why I think I went from feeling like yes, celebrating the exit of Trump, and first it was Kamala Harris being sworn in. And then that poem was so powerful. And it's like, what do you want to bring to this country? It was almost like a poetic summation of ask not what this country can do for you.
Yes.
But what can you bring? And that's how I felt. She moved me.
And you know what's
I was barely looking at the coverage because I was at work and it was on. And I would look up but then keep working. And then I heard her start to recite her poem, and she made me stop what I'm doing. She commanded my full attention because I'm like, oh, and I mean, like that was one of the more powerful moments besides the swearing in. That was just and I didn't see the exchange between Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris until the social media post afterwards. But she commanded attention, baby. And I don't think anybody heard her recite that poem and was not mesmerized by her voice, her presence, and her message.
I agree.
The power of words.
One of the
respect and inspire people through your words. She did it all. I love it.
One of the things I liked, like Charmaine said, was like that whole kind of call to action, like, what are you going to do for your country? And it reminded me of the spirit of Barack Obama. It was like, and I think a lot of people get complacent and they get to the point where they be like, okay, we elected you to be the president, make it happen. Like, and then even when the midterm elections come up, they be like, whatever, we voted you to be the president, make it happen. And so it's like, we have to be reminded that we have to take an active part in our communities and in this country to make it be what we want. If we just go back in the house and stay there and be like, oh, we got a black president or we got a black lady vice president, we done. It's over. We can go back to watching Netflix.
Beautiful continuation, especially when we already saw the power of the movement in our impact on the election. And what she was saying is that, like, keep it going.
Keep it going.
You done already seen that you can bring voice to reason, and that you have the power to change things. Keep it going. Be the light. Like don't just sit back and expect that things are just magically going to happen in a way that is beneficial to our community and to our country. We got to
because so many people gripe about what is and complain about what is, but then keep on doing what they've been doing. It's like we have to get into the mindset of being active.
But then say they don't participate in the process or participate in anything that's going to bring about change. Complaining ain't never changed nothing.
It never changed anything. And how she ended it towards the end, and I highlighted this in my blog where she says there is always light if you're brave enough to see it.
Yeah.
If we are brave enough to be it, and being that light, people think is easy, but it's not. And I know each one of us in our careers.
It's not even easy to see it, because what I will tell you is, like, I'm a teacher, and even with people in my family and other friends, like, you can try to tell them, like, hey, stay with it, stay on the path. This is what you need to do. If they can't see the light, if they have shut their eyes off to the light, they don't see a pathway to anything you're saying. And you can say it, and you can say, we can achieve this, we can do that, it can be this great thing. If they don't see the light, they won't ever be it. Because like you said, representation matters. If you can't see that thing that you're trying to do to know that it's actually a real thing. Now, some people can push through in the abstract and be like, I don't know if this is possible, but I'm just going to try and do it anyway. Some people are like that, but a lot of people are not. And if they cannot see it, and not only just see it, but see that it's somewhat easy and it's some steps that they can kind of step through to get there, they won't make it. And they won't make it like, and they don't feel like they have the ability to make an impression on our culture, our society, our communities. One of the things I opened my class with the other day, and I started doing this to try to build more connection with my kids, and not just with them, between me and them, but between them and the community at large. I always have some meaningful quote, and we'll have like a little discussion around it, even though I teach science and that's not really what we're doing. I do that anyway. And the one that I put this week was, it's like, while we all can't do great things, we can do small things with great love, right? And so I was like, while we may not all be able to be the president or, a CEO, and even though those are things we're striving for, I still have to address those who can't. What small things can you do with great love? What things can you pour your heart and soul into? And next thing you know, it's something great anyway.
Right. Anybody who knows building a fire, it starts with the smallest little things. You got to get your kindling together. You need that spark to get that fire started. A fire and a light that it comes from that fire, it doesn't just exist in and of itself. It starts with
students see the end product. And a lot of adults see the end product. She the president, she the vice president. They don't see all, and like even with you, Charlie, they don't see all the years that you had to go through. They don't see the struggle that you went through. They don't see the hard nights when you were tired and just didn't want to, but you still did. And so they don't see those small little things that you did with great love. And that is why they just want it right now, right this, and make it. And it's easy. And if it's not easy, then they don't want to do it. And so that's why I was like, find small, broken up pieces that you can have that you get you to where you want to be, get you to a loving, structured kind of relationship with people in your family, that get you to reach out to your community, to pick up trash in your neighborhood, to whatever it is, to, to then volunteering on a grander scale for political stuff or doing different things or getting involved in big ways. You have to start off a little bit at a time, just and keep pushing and stay consistent. And so that's one of the things I really try to instill. It's like, do whatever you can, even if it's something small, do it the best of your abilities with the greatest amount of love. And you will feel so comforted and rewarded in that it will help you see the light in you.
Yeah.
Right. Charlize?
I love it. And I agree exactly what you said. It's all about, while we can celebrate outcomes, we have to appreciate and trust the journey and the process, because who you are as a person is developed through the journey, through the process, not necessarily the outcome. And I think we don't recognize that and appreciate that.
Right.
And so we as humans, we just have we're all kind of cynical by nature. I think we gravitate toward noticing negative things. I think we know, and that's why the news is so sensationalized. That's why certain things, people, because they know how to play on your emotions. And I think that is how we're designed. It becomes very hard to see the light, but everybody, and I tell people all the time, like I've learned to accept people for who they are, because nobody is fully good and nobody is
it's fully bad.
If you look for the bad in somebody, that's what you're going to see, and that's what they're going to magnify. If you look for the good, that's what you will see, and that's what will be magnified in your interaction with them. And so just as important as it is to be a light, like she said, you got to see the light. You got to see the light in others, because when you see that and focus on that, that's what they will magnify. If you focus on always telling somebody the negative stuff and point out the negative stuff that they done, because we done all did it. I mean, I can go back home and I guarantee you, if I ain't seen somebody in about 20 years, they're gonna talk about the dumb stuff I did.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Yes.
But I'm
But
like,
this is how I'm gonna right. And so this is what it is. It's like people like, would you I don't want to remove any part of my life's journey. Anything that I've gone through, the good, the bad, the hard, the ugly, makes me my full self and who you see and what I presented today. And I wouldn't be as sensitive. I wouldn't be as sympathetic. I don't think my drive would be where it is had I not gone through extreme poverty, foster care, homelessness,
yeah, but you're really oversensitive, though. I ain't that sensitive.
Look, I'm sensitive. Charmaine's extras. That's just her. That's her.
But that's because
I think those things hit people different. I think Charmaine took it and it made her sensitive. I think it made me. I built barriers a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
It made me tough, baby.
It made me tough. That's what I'm saying. It made me. It's like when you rub the surface so many times, it gets a little stronger, right? It's a little.
I mean, but I'm strong. I just don't think that I am one of them people who do not run from emotions. I think that emotions are there to guide you to either. It's supposed to be there. So I'm like one of them people because I do love pop culture. If I go to a movie and if you're gonna make me cry, I want my Kleenex. I want to go into the ugly cry. I want to be snot nose crying by the end of this movie. If I'm supposed to be laughing, I want to laugh so hard that I pee on myself. And I just surrender myself.
In the famous words of Eddie Murphy, I'm a karate woman. I bleed on the inside. Keep that all up in there. Keep it in.
So it's just like, I think that as we close, I think that the last thing was when Biden was sworn in and he officially became the president of the United States. And in his inaugural speech, we're not saying, we understand that a lot of damage was done over the last 4 years. And we have a lot of his theme that he had throughout his speech was about unity and how we find that unity. But we also have to understand that accountability comes with creating that unity. If there's no accountability for what happened on the 6th, if there's no accountability for what has happened and transpired building up to that moment, it'll make unity harder. People look at South Africa as, how they were able to get to a certain point, and the politics of South Africa is difficult. But part of that is recognizing apartheid and what the damage it has done to the South African people, the Black people of South Africa, and instead of hiding from it, I think this country has to start recognizing that their past, led up to where we are today. So we can celebrate the Kamala Harris's and the Barack Obamas, but the reason why their achievements are so important and impactful is because of how our country, the history of this country, right?
They had to come. And I'll end by saying that it's important to recognize that even though the last 4 years was tough, a lot of those dynamics that manifested throughout the Trump's years then began with Trump. A lot of those things, the Tea Party and all of those things, those were there before Trump. They had a space in which to flourish and operate. Right. But the thing about it is we don't have to remain there. And my platform is all about the things we do today will have benefit for moving forward. And today we can be the light. We can say, you know what, enough is enough. That is not who we are as a people. We want to be different. And we're going to do some things different starting today so that we can have a future for our children and our children's children that don't look like this foolishness today.
Right.
You know what I love? What I love about like this conversation and everything that we're kind of talking about the inauguration and politics and culture, I think this is a beautiful demonstration of how our very different perspective all meld into one, because all of these things are interwoven together. It's like the pop culture aspect of it touches on our emotions because of it represents our spirit, and like this is how we express our emotions. This is how we feel, and art always kind of impacts us in ways like that. I think the financial side of it is amazing because that's how we as a people grow and become and stronger, and that allows us to develop more emotionally and spiritually in a space where we're not struggling because of those levels of needs. Once you meet that hierarchy of the needs and the lower levels, it allows you that space to transcend. And then for me, from my perspective about trying to understand all of it coming together for humanity, I just think I love you ladies. This is beautiful. And I just really enjoy talking to you guys and listening to you because you're both so brilliant and beautiful and fun.
And while we have these dope conversations on Saturday, and I will talk to each other every day and lift each other up. And I think that caps it off
every day.
Throughout the course of that inauguration, it was about lifting each other up in that Black woman exchange. And we do that every day. And I love it. And I hope that everybody has a space where they feel encouraged, uplifted, and they're celebrated by the people who surround them.
Yes.
Be the light. Keep it going. Walk in your power. Be who you were designed to be. Don't try to be anybody else, and impact this world with your talent, skill, and ability, and your purpose, because it's desperately needed. I love it. There's hope.
And as we close out today, we will also take a moment to remember Larry King, who passed this morning, and that his voice will be missed. He has motivated and inspired many of people who use that medium of providing information as a great interviewer. And his approach, I know, has affected and influenced a lot of people who's come out of this since he's been around. He's been around for a very long time, and his voice will be missed.
He made his
legacy. And he died. Right. He made his and he continued working up to the point where he could not work anymore. This man was still, he has interviews on the book for 2020, which is inspiring.
Because when you walk in your purpose and you have a passion for what you do,
you don't ever want to stop doing it.
You don't ever want to stop doing it. That's the difference between having a job and having a purpose. He had a purpose, powerful, and he impacted a lot of people. Rest in heaven. And thank you for your legacy and the impact that you had on people.
I agree with that 100%.
All right, and that ends another dope conversation.
All right,
thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies.